Hello. In the USA, he's compared with Joe Bonamassa, with his special mix of southern rock, folk roots, and funk music with this portion of soul. J.J. Grey is one of the top artists. Here in Germany, he is still an insider's tip, but I think album number 8, which will be released in March this year, will change this. My name is Ann-Kathrin and you are watching Audiofield TV. Enjoy.
Ow, D, O, feel. Boom, 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 boom. Ow, D, O, feel. Ow, D, O, feel. Ow, D, O, feel, feel, feel.
If you say a prayer, say one for me. Oh, keep me in your thoughts. 'Cause I'll say one for you. Hold it for the truth. I won't let go at all costs. I can't play the blame game any longer. Made me feel stronger just to say that I'm weak. Dark thoughts piling one upon another. Dark as any other place that I be. So light a candle for me. Be the God that I need when I'm all alone. So light a candle for me. Be the joy I see. I'm on my way back home.
Hello, JJ. So nice to meet you and presenting your new album. If you had to tell me or explain me your music in one sentence, how would you describe it?
Oof, I'm not sure, but because I'm too close to it that I don't really know what it sounds like. But hopefully, in one sentence, I would hope it would be swampy, soul, bluesy, southern rock music,
But when I think of Florida, where you come from, I think of all those surfer boys and beaches and not of swamps or something like this. So where does your love for this sort of music come from?
Well, I grew up around it. It's part of the culture where I'm from, and Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers are from there, but even before them, the history of a lot of blues stuff being around there, and it's not as known internationally or even nationally for that matter as other places, but people where I'm from talk like I talk, and it is kind of like where the swamp and country meet the ocean. So I surf as well, so I'm in both worlds, and where I'm from, in a lot of cases, both worlds are the same world.
So it's a good mixture.
I would think, I think so. I love it. That's my favorite place on earth, home.
And you have been stayed there. No, you have been at UK, right, for some years.
I did live in the UK for 2 years in London, and I enjoyed it. It was totally different to live in a big city, but my heart is in quiet places, way out, away from the craziness. I love to visit the craziness, and I love to go back to the quiet.
So this is where you take your inspiration from?
I think so. I think the land, the food, how I grew up, how my grandparents grew up, and how all that affected me growing up around all those people. So all those things hopefully make their way into what I do.
But do you think people from the North can understand the music of the South?
Oh yes, but yeah, because music's universal. I could hear an opera piece, Lacrimosa, and I can't speak Latin, but I can tell. The song is sad, and Lacrimosa means weeping, and I didn't know that, but I could just tell, and I feel like music passes past language barriers. There's been bands I've sang along with, that I have no idea what they're saying, like Der Kommissar. That song that was huge at home when I was a kid, and I didn't know what he was saying. I was just singing it, I just love that song. So, I think it's something that everybody can understand. Like food, I love Italian food. I love Thai food, Indian food, and music to me is like food. Everybody can like it.
But there's also some food I don't like.
Yes, it's true.
Or I can't understand. So I can't understand the people who are eating hedgehogs, for example. There are people who are eating hedgehogs,
Okay. So, I didn't know that. I wouldn't eat I don't think I'd eat a hedgehog or a dog or a cat either. So, but.
Well, you don't know. If you go to a Chinese restaurant, you never know what you get.
Yeah, I think it would. Okay, you know what? That's a pretty good point. I'll scale it back to spices. I love lots of spices, and there's some that are too hot and some that are not. And so, but yeah, all those things. When it appeals to someone, they can understand it and get something out of it. So that's what I come. And I think music and food is closely related, because they're both sort of cogs in the wheel of a regional culture or a culture to an area. And where I live, the land and all those things affect the music and affect the people, the way they relate to each other, the way they do anything.
And it has just been within the last 30, 40 years that food and music did exchange, and people from the US ate German or Austrian food. So this exchange is relatively new in history.
Definitely, and I think a lot of places are thankful for it. I know I'm glad that there are Indians from India cooking food in Jacksonville, Florida, because I love Indian food, or West Indian shops, and the South is kind of spicy food as well, but not like they've done. And I think England is very grateful that they had an Indian connection to where Indian people brought their food there, and vice versa. Everybody gets to try something different, but it's really been a short period of time in the history of things when you think about it.
So do you think you also put those spices into your music?
I
Because
hope so.
there are some really hot songs, I would call it like this.
I hope so. I think that when you first start out doing music, it's like cooking a dish. You got a bunch of ingredients, and when you first start out, it seems like you don't cook it long enough, so you still taste each individual ingredient instead of the dish. And then the more time goes, the more the food settles in, and all the things run together and make something that's singular and multi-layered at the same time. And I hope that the music reflects that and is that. But I found the best way for it to happen is the same in the kitchen. Let it cook. Don't quit stirring the pot. Quit looking. Just let it cook. And the same way with the music. Just let it be. Just let it do. And it's like me talking. I'm sure you can hear I've got a Southern accent when I speak, and that just comes out. So when it comes out with the music, just let it come out.
But one says that too many cooks are not that good for a meal. So how many people have been involved into this new album?
Lots. I mean, obviously, I write the material and arrange it, but I count on each one of the guys playing with me to bring a little bit of who they are to it. And luckily, all those guys, they've been cooking, if you will, with music for a long time. So they're very musical, and they hear what's happening, and they know how to bring my vision to life, and I'm thankful for that. And so I've had lots of people help me along the way and sort of light a candle for me from one step to the next, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So I have been in situations before where too many cooks spoil the meal, but that's very rare, and I haven't experienced that in a long time. And not so much with music, with other things in life.
Okay. But so the producer and all the staff in the studio you have been familiar with, or did you change for this new album, the team?
It's the same producer, same studio. It's the only studio really that I've recorded like the major part of any record in since I started doing music. And
so it's in your home city?
It's in St. Augustine. It's an hour south of
Okay.
my house.
In
Along the
US,
ocean.
1 hour is nothing.
Right, yeah. It's about 50 miles away, and it's right on the ocean, and it's a good friend of mine owns it, and it's like a vacation for me to go to
Okay.
record there.
Is it with all those analog recording equipment still, or
Yes.
is it a completely new digital studio?
No, it's everything we record to tape. He has the last Studer 2-inch 24-track machine
Okay.
made. Actually, he's got 2 of them. He also has 2 Otaris, and sometimes we use one machine for the drums, and stand the other machine up beside it and use it for other things. But it's his gear, and to me, it's about him as much as it is about the equipment. He's got one of the craziest vintage collectible kit collections. I mean, it's crazy what all he has, but it's also an extension of who he is, and his ear and his ability to, if in his lifetime he's been in possession of 4 U47 microphones. Well, he's going to pick out the best one, and it's just going to get kept, and then the other ones move along. And he's kind of done that with everything: guitars, drums, amplifiers, all the front end equipment, the consoles, everything. So everything's still analog. Everything's recorded to tape, and then we may do a little post work in digital, but for the most part, it's all analog.
So this album will also be released on vinyl?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because here in Germany there's a huge analog fan base, and they are still collecting vinyl, and within the last years this has been raised again. So I think this is really important here in Germany to have it on vinyl.
That's great. I was glad the label wanted to. The previous label I was on, Alligator, they put out several of the records on 180 gram vinyl, the nice, real thick stuff, and cut the groove a little deeper and spread it out a little more. And with Mascot Provogue, they're going to put it on 2 albums. It's going to be 2 discs. So to me, that's even better.
So the 45 RPM?
I'm not sure.
Probably if it is 2.
Yeah, it's going to be on
discs,
2 full discs, and hopefully that'll thicken the sound even more.
How is it for you? In US, you're compared with Joe Bonamassa and really a star. When you come to Germany, you're like an insider's tip.
Mm-hmm,
Is it a little bit weird for you to explain who you are and what you're doing?
No, not at all. Because going from where I started to where I am now in the U.S. was a real gradual thing. So it didn't happen really quick, and so I understand the process. And for me, it's been like building a house, and I've never been in a big rush about it. Sometimes I am. But sometimes it's you just take it as it comes, and it's definitely different. You get used to touring in buses and all the different things at home, and to come over to Europe and get in a van. But it really wasn't that big of a deal. None of us are that far removed from having done those kind of things, and to me, it's I don't care. Riding in a van, riding in a bus, whatever. As long as we get there, it doesn't really bother me one way or the next.
So you don't mind if you play for an audience of 100 people or 1,000 or 10,000 people?
It doesn't really change anything for me. It doesn't really matter. We were on the BB King Summer Festival tour way back in 2003, and it was great every night to get to play in front of thousands of people, because it was us, then Galactic, Jeff Beck, and then B.B. King, and it was great. And then in the middle of that run, the tour had a night off, and we had a show booked, and it was just us. This was in West Virginia, and there was maybe 15 people there at this show, and it was the most fun show I had on the whole tour. So I don't really care how many people are there. I hope there's, well, obviously there's more than 15 now coming to shows at home, but you always, I don't want the promoters and the people that work hard to help make all that stuff happen, I don't want them to lose money and take a hit with people not coming. But aside from that, I don't really care how many people come.
You mentioned B.B. King. Did you have the opportunity to play with him, or has he played his own concert and you joined, or you have been in for a program or something like this? We did what we did, and then each group did what they did. I think in the very last night, Jeff Beck and B.B. King jammed together. But I met Mr. King. His son took me to meet him on the bus, and it was inspiring. He's a funny man, and obviously I don't have to say how much of a legend he is playing, and how he sounds like somebody singing, playing guitar, you know. But it was a fun thing to do. It was a fun thing to be a part of. But who has influenced you as a young guy? What music did you influence?
Coming up, you mean? Like Otis Redding is my favorite singer of all time. Him and Toots Hibbert from Toots and the Maytals. Toots and Otis are #1. Both of them are together tied for first place as my favorite or most influential singers for me. And then after that, Donny Hathaway, Stevie Wonder, George Jones. Jerry Reed is a huge influence on me. The country guitar songwriter, singer, actor. He did everything when he was here. And all the way over to AC/DC, I mean, it could go on and on. I've loved all kinds of music, heavy music, to soul, jazz, R&B, reggae. I love lots of reggae. So all those things have influenced me.
And in the beginnings, did you try to imitate Otis Redding's, or did you always try to find your own style?
I tried to imitate Otis Redding until I figured out real quick I couldn't do it. So, you know, I did that when I was young, and it wasn't a clear-cut point, though, actually, where I just quit trying to emulate my heroes. It just sort of went away, you know, where you one day you don't sound like only the sum total of your influences. You sound like your influences, sort of, in some way, but you sound like you. And I don't know how that happens or what makes that happen. And that's something I'm still always wanting to cultivate and keep. And the best way is to just stay out of the way and let it happen. And you know, and just hope that all the people that I've loved musically that have touched me somehow or another come through what I do.
But only if you're a good musician, you don't sound like other musicians. Otherwise, you sound like Otis Redding, Mini-Me, or something like this.
Yeah, I think the main
thing... There are examples.
yeah, and I think the main thing to keep that from happening is to listen and let it absorb into your skin, and then tell your story, and then follow your passion, and let go of the fear of being you know.
And telling stories is important for you, because you also, or your lyrics are very important on your albums, right?
I think so, and people ask me if I'm a storyteller, and I say I hope so. You know,
or a philosopher, maybe.
Maybe a little bit of everything. I think everybody is, in a way. We all tell stories in conversation, and we're all storytellers. I just feel like in music, I always felt like the people that I've loved were telling a story, whether it was Bill Withers or whether it was Stevie Wonder, you know, or whether you name it. You can go down the list, and all of them are telling stories in a way. And then I was heavily influenced by Jerry Clower. He was a Grand Ole Opry comedian, and brother Dave Gardner, who was way ahead of his time. He was a jazz drummer, a preacher, and a comedian and a philosopher, and from the late 50s. And my dad had just happened to have all his records, and I just put anything on the record player, and I got to the point where I could recite all their records, just talk. I would the whole comedy routine from start to finish. So those guys definitely influenced me, even if they weren't. You know, Jerry Clower didn't sing or play at all. He wasn't a musician, but Brother Dave did, and Brother Dave always influenced me big time.
Okay, and does your grandmother nowadays understand what you are doing?
Well, she did before she passed. She did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, no, it's no worries. She did. In fact, she was the reason why I changed the name. You know, because I started out just calling myself Mofro and calling what I was doing, me and my buddy Daryl, what we were doing, calling it Mofro, and I didn't really have a band. And then years later, my grandmother was like, what is Mofro? And I'm like, well, it's just what I call it. And she's like, you sing about me and your grandfather's last conversation on earth. You sing about one of your best friends dying on Oxycontin, and you call it Mofro. You sing about our family all the time in these songs, these stories. We all know these stories, and are you ashamed of us? Is that why you don't call it by your name? And so I changed it.
Perfect.
But you know, yeah, she didn't get it like a lot of people do. I mean, we watched the Super Bowl once, and Paul McCartney was the halftime entertainment. And she said, after he got finished, she said, "Who the hell was that?" And I said, "That's Paul McCartney." She said, "Who's he?"
Perfect.
And I said, "He's in the Beatles." And she said, "Who the hell are the Beatles?"
That's great.
So that's my grandmother.
That's great. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you, and all the best with this album.
Thanks.
Ow. D. O.